Okay, multi-step conversion. So we're moving up the chain of complexity here for doing conversion problems. And again, I am going to demand that you do it this way, that you work on the labels first and then put in the numbers. Don't do them both at the same time until you get much better at this, and that'll probably be in Chem 2. Chem 1, I'm going to demand that you do this all the time. And probably a good portion of Chem 2 for those who just seem to struggle without following this process. Okay, so this is going to be more than 2 steps, but it's very much the same thing as what we did before, but it becomes kind of a puzzle or kind of like a map that you have to work out to go from point A to point B, and all these stops in between. And that's pretty much what these multi-step conversions are going to be like. So let's take this one right here. How many seconds are in a 365-day year? Okay, so let's do that. So mathematically, this is what it's going to be. 365 days equals how many years? Not years, duh. You know it's 1 year. What a maroon. How many seconds? Now we're only going to use the conversions I gave you for this. So I mean there are shortcuts out there and they're all legitimate, but I want us using only the conversions I gave you for now. Later on we can start worrying about shortcuts, but I want us to get used to putting in labels that we are dealing with in these conversion processes. So we start with 365 days. Instead of putting an equal sign, we put a time sign and a fraction line. Now I gave you no conversions for years to days, so we have to convert the days to hours. So we put days on the bottom and hours on top. We do have a conversion for that. Days are canceled out. And I gave you no conversion for hours to seconds, so we're going to change hours to minutes. So hours go on the bottom, minutes on top. And this is one of those you can probably do a shorthand version of, but we're not going to do it just yet. Right now we're just getting used to the conversion system. So the hours cancel out, and then we put minutes on the bottom and seconds on top, and cancel those out right there. And everything's canceled out except for the seconds, which is what we want our answer to be. So now we go to this. According to the conversions, 1 day is equal to 24 hours, 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes, and 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. So on your calculator, again, you ignore the ones because they will have no effect whether you multiply or divide by them. In this case, you're just going to multiply 365 times 24 times 60 times 60. And your answer is going to be 31,536,000 seconds. Okay? Now again, you don't have to memorize when do I multiply, when do I divide. It's so confusing. It's not confusing if you use this system. Zero confusion. Just make sure you do the labels first, then the numbers. Okay? Next one. How many yards are in 14.5 meters if there are 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch? Again, if I give you a conversion, that is the conversion I want you to use in these problems. All right, so 14.5 meters equals how many yards? Let's take a look at that one. 14.5 meters equals blank yards, and we're going to use the conversion that 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. Okay, so we take 14.5 meters times fraction line. So there's no pair of units that allows me to go from meters to yards. I do know I want to end up with inches and centimeters. So if I'm going to start with meters, I can convert that right to centimeters so I can use that conversion in the parentheses there. So I'm going to put meter on the bottom, centimeter on top, and again, the meters are canceled. Now we're going to convert the centimeters to inches. Centimeters cancel out. that allows me now to change the inches to feet, because I have not given any conversion for inches to yards. Yes, that's another legitimate change that we can make, but we're gonna continue with only the labels that I've given you conversions for. Put inches on bottom, feet on top. That's rather unusual. They must look funny. And then feet on bottom and yards on top. And now we can plug in our numbers. Well, in this case, it's an SI to SI conversion, so the rule we use is the larger label gets the 1, and since C is lowercase, that means the meter is bigger than the centimeter. The prefix centi means 100, so we'll put 100 there, or 10 to the second power. In this case right here, these numbers have to go with these labels in that order. So the 1 goes with the inch, and the 2.54 goes with the centimeter. Now we go to the English conversions, which we theoretically know. 1 foot is equal to 12 inches, and 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. So on our calculator, we're going to take 14.5 times 100 divided by 2.54 divided by 12 divided by 3. We turn what could be a rather ugly looking series of steps to do, and we're able to simplify when we multiply, when we divide, by using this nice little conversion method and all the cancellation to allow us to have the yards there. All right, and so when we punch that into our calculator and the smoke clears, we're going to round that off to the nearest tenth, and that'll be 15.9 yards. Now I will tell you what I want you to round it off to. Later on in this chapter, we'll know exactly where to round it off to when we get through all that. And that's a very important section called significant figures. Okay? Now, the next one, okay, we've got 15.9 yards is what we ended up with there. So, it's all about setting up the labels to cancel out, then putting in the numbers, and so that gives us then our practice problems for you to do. And so, I've given the rounding off, none here, 7 decimal places here, 2 decimal places here, and the nearest whole number here. Whole number means, of course, right to the decimal point. Okay?